Gentlemen, welcome to the Planning Commission for the City of Hudson for Thursday, February 11th. I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is discussion, possible action on minutes of January 28th, 2016. Is there any changes or addition?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, discussion, possible action on certified survey map, CSM, 2 commercial lots, 1.782 acres for proposed 125, 120, 155, 175 Second Street South, and 1.609 acres for 201 Second Street. Michael Leverty, MLME Holdings. Mr. Darnold?
MLME Holdings is proposing a 2-lot certified survey map and 1 outlot. This is the area between or south of the Dairy Queen. Lot 1 would be for the proposed Hudson Boat Works project. Lot 2 is would be the existing Northwest Mutual building, and the outlot is the common driveway access where the existing access from 2nd Street, State Trunk Highway 35 exists. I would recommend approval. The only issue with the certified survey map is if the Hudson Boat Works project is approved as proposed, the city would need a storm sewer easement at least for probably until the Highway 35 project would be done in 2021, just because there's some stormwater that's going to be collected and taken through the site into the existing storm sewer system. Other than that, I recommend approval. If you want to wait and discuss the Hudson Boat Works project before taking action on this, that's okay also.
May I ask one question? Setbacks, property lines, you know, from the highway. What is the setback on a state highway 35? It's 66 feet for a normal road, correct? 33 from the center line?
No, and we're in the central business district. There's 0 setback on front yard, side yard, 25 feet on rear yard.
Thank you, that's what I wanted to know.
Similar to downtown Hudson.
Thank you.
Anybody have any reason not to approve this right away and then move on to the next one, or do you want to keep it together? Your choice.
I see no reason not to approve it.
Okay, is that a motion to
That
approve?
is a motion.
Is there, a second by Mr. Rhodes? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4, discussion, possible action on final development plans, Hudson Boat Works, 7,440 square foot commercial phase 1 improvements and 2 future buildings, 125, 155, 175 Second Street, FAF Red LLC.
The proposal for Hudson Boat Works, as Mayor Burchell indicated, is approximately a 7,000 square foot building. The main floor was at least tentatively proposed for the Lolo restaurant, which they would locate a restaurant in Hudson. Second floor is proposed to be half architectural group. There is a partial basement, and then on the rooftop there's a small area which could be potentially used for some kind of gathering if Lolo want to have some kind of activity on the top floor. Again, recall 2 meetings ago, there's a considerable amount of discussion and concern expressed on traffic on 2nd Street, State Trunk Highway 35, particularly in the PM peak period. I've observed traffic a couple times afternoons after about 4:15 through about 5:40, and then drove down about 6 o'clock tonight. There are 2 peak periods that there's extremely heavy traffic that comes into Hudson, about 4:50 and about 5:10. It occurred both nights. I watched almost to the minute where traffic is backed up as far as the wastewater treatment plant during that time period. but by about 5:40 or so, it's pretty much back to a steady flow of traffic. Certainly, a left, southbound left going into the site is a concern simply because the right lane traffic might be traveling at 10, 15, 20, 25 miles an hour because they're slowing down because they're going straight through and that traffic is starting to stack. Where the left lane is pretty much vacant and the left turn coming north, they might be going as fast as 45. So it's that disparity of traffic speeds that's a little bit concerning to me. And when I visited with the DOT, I strongly suggested maybe them consider lowering the speed limit to 25 or 35 for about 500 feet farther south to get the traffic to even out a little bit more in speed. Their comments back was that, you know, speed's not always a critical issue, but that's something they would consider. The more critical movement out of that driveway access is the left turn going out. And that's because you got to cross 2 lanes of traffic and then get into the left lane going south, and then if you're going to Minnesota, you move over to the right lane. The trouble is you got traffic coming south, which are starting to accelerate to 45, it could be accelerating as high as 45 miles an hour. And if the cars are stacked, then they block that traffic. But there's really at least this time of year, there's a very specific time period when that's the worst, and that's from about 4:45 to about 5:15, 5:20. After that, it starts spreading out. And I drove down, tried to get in certain situations, and you can get in and out. You just got to be careful about what you do. Even in downtown Hudson, going between Walnut Street and Buckeye or Cooley, if you're going south and you're trying to make a left turn, you have a lot of difficulty because the cars are pretty much steady all the way. So left turns are difficult. They're not impossible, but they're difficult. I did talk to the DOT. There's a few things that we think that possibly could be done. Please understand, these things would not be done immediately. There's not a silver bullet to this issue that could happen right away. But one of them would be extending the northbound green light for traffic going north during the PM peak periods to allow a little more time for that traffic flow. The second thing that I've discussed before is on the dedicated right turn, once you get north of the access into Northwest Mutual, is extending that dedicated right turn lane as far back as that access. Because what happens is the cars going through to the north and the cars wanting to turn right are caught in that right lane until they can get past the access and get over. But if we can extend that lane, you get more cars in that dedicated right turn. That starts freeing up and reduces the stacking distance. And that's something that could potentially occur when the state milling overlays or grinding overlays that area of the Highway 35 in 2021. It could happen sooner, but that's most likely the timetable. Other things that I visited with the state about, the state said, well, would the city ever consider a roundabout in that location? I've had different discussions with different people. Some people tell me it's impossible to do it. Some people tell me, but for some reason the DOT thought maybe there was some feasibility of it. Another thing that we talked about as far back as 1993 is to do 2-lane northbound traffic through downtown Hudson, 2-lane southbound traffic on First Street, which basically removes and makes the right turn going south and removes that movement. And so basically your cars are just a steady flow going north through downtown Hudson, which would remove it. Again, we've had that in our comprehensive plan as a possible consideration for a number of years. We just have never really been faced with a critical issue to move ahead with that. Now, state's really strongly suggesting, at least in our conversations yesterday, that the state and the city really ought to, very soon, do a study on that intersection. I'm talking about Cooley Road, Buckeye, and the intersection of State Trunk Highway 35 to try to reduce the congestion and getting traffic to move through that intersection better. And so that's something the city should seriously consider. As far as saying absolutely no to a project in this location, I think there is enough opportunities to make those turns, at least in my experience, but again, we're probably one of the slowest periods of traffic. Summertime, special events, you're gonna have stacking back here. Cars are just gonna have to be careful. There's other locations in Hudson where you got left turns. I was surprised the other night, I was leaving the Catholic church on Vine Street with the access, and the big River Falls Hudson High School wrestling matches going in, cars just pouring past. I waited 2 minutes to get a left turn out of the Catholic church property. So there are occasions when, left turns are difficult and you just simply have to wait, but I'm not sure that's the reason why you would deny this project. But that's my view.
My take on the whole thing is I want it to work, but it has to work safely. It has to work so there's visibility, so if you're gonna try to turn whatever direction, that you're not trying to sneak through 2 lanes of cars where the southbound lane maybe then doesn't see you because you're intermixed in with other cars, and you could come out and just have a whack just because of no visibility. I wouldn't want to deny it for that reason, but knowing that there's an issue there going into it, I feel there has to be some safety resolution to the thing in a reasonable fashion, rather than just waiting and using common sense, because then we knew a problem existed and we didn't address it.
Do we have a traffic study at all on that?
No, I did ask, well, not a traffic study, but I did ask for an accident incidents report from the police department, unfortunately, but when I talked to the DOT officials, they had called theirs up, and they said there's only been about 5 accidents in the last 3 or 4 years, one coming out of the South Dairy Queen accident left turn, and one coming out of the Northwest Mutual building, again, a left turn, was in an accident. But other than that, they said they're ready for that length of stretch. There's been very few accidents. However, the intersection of Cooley Road, State Trunk Highway 35, there's been a number of accidents.
So would a lot of the problem be solved with a no left turn out of the parking lot onto 35?
Huge, absolutely.
I think it would have to be better than just signage, though.
Yep.
I think the curb, an island would have to be built that directs them to the right.
Gives them no option.
Gives them no option, because if it's just a sign,
Right.
Even the one we had at the golf course. I'd watch it after Rotary meetings, excuse me, in the morning. People who were on that end, there was a number of cars who would sneak out that one just because you could if there wasn't traffic. But the left-hand turn to keep everybody going to the right as much as we can is the only solution. I was gonna ask the question though, Denny, by granting this and the building goes forward, are we doing anything that blocks our ability to adjust lane width or anything else in the future through there?
No, when
It's not.
the old Second Street was vacated, we reserved enough area to add that one additional lane for that dedicated right turn extension.
So you try and pull out of the Freedom Station at a busy time, make a left-hand turn, it's just about impossible to pull out of here. It is gonna be another busy time. It's done daily by lots of people without accidents happening, if you can educate them enough to do it.
and I think the problem that exists there that's not at Freedom is the number of lanes. And probably the speed as well. I
Yeah.
mean, granted, if it's stacked, the speed is very low, but the visibility is now an issue. If you're the one car worming through 2 lanes of northbound traffic, that southbound is not seeing you.
Till your nose is out, then it's too late.
Yeah, and it's too late.
But the right turn only would resolve the issues.
Of doing that, yeah.
Of exiting, its entrance would still be an issue of trying to turn left. You're just doing the same thing opposite, going south, and having to cross 2 lanes to get in there. And what happens if one car gave you a space to get in, but the other car didn't? Or was too far ahead where he couldn't? So, I mean, those are the issues.
But the same thing happens as you're, if you're turning left to go into that, is it Williams lot by, Barker's is on this side,
Yep.
and if you're trying to turn left, I mean, the same
Oh, that's a
thing.
nightmare.
Oh, that's a miserable
Same thing
place.
happens.
Yeah, we shouldn't allow that.
Okay.
No, I mean,
That's
I've seen it
discussion
lock up, no,
tonight.
lock up the whole intersection.
Right.
Because people have tried to make a left-hand turn down here onto Second Street, and it's blocked because people are making a left-hand turn into the parking lot. The people who are backed up in traffic on Second Street can't go forward to let the person who wants to make the left-hand turn into the parking, there's nowhere to go. And until that person finally, out of frustration, pulls forward, I've seen it hold up the light,
Right.
the entire light.
So, we have.
Can't
our-
solve idiots.
We have our own thoughts and what we believe it is. And then we don't have a traffic survey. A compromise would be just making sure it would be a right out only out of that parking lot. I think it doesn't solve it completely, but it's maybe more than half of the issue coming in. Again, the left turn lane into the, from heading south, most of the time isn't gonna be a problem, in my opinion. Most of the day, it's not a problem.
Well, if there's a restaurant there, I dare to differ with you on
Okay.
that. I mean, there's a couple hours anyway where
Sure.
it's not a deal breaker, but there is traffic.
Denny, did
Is
the DOT address anything about that no left turn? Any opinion?
No, they didn't look at that specifically.
Because I'd be in favor of approving the project if we did, at least we identified our concerns, and we've got a starting point, so we can do the traffic study ahead, and then look at some of the options that were outlined with your meeting with the DOT. We started it, we addressed it, we understand there's a safety issue there. If we can start and put at least something there, it's a good start.
Yeah.
But I don't want to deny the project. So I would move to approve this project, provided we, and put in that only no left turn
Out of the parking lot?
out of the parking lot.
With the divider?
Yes. Kind of similar to the Target one, and
Do we have a second?
There are, well,
Go ahead.
yeah. You have a second,
I'll second
continued
it.
discussion,
Okay.
yeah. I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay. Yes, Mary Claire?
So are we doing it just for this property, or are we doing it for Northwest Mutual and the Dairy Queen?
No, there's shared driveway
access.
between Northwest Mutual and this project.
Okay,
That's
so,
a shared driveway.
okay, so, but it's not for the Dairy Queen.
No, you're correct.
Is that going to be confusing? I'm just asking.
That's a separate issue completely. The Dairy Queen's not involved in this at all.
No, I know, but I mean, it's the same area.
Most of the time when I'm there, and it looks like I've been there quite a bit.
To the Dairy Queen?
Yes, so, the people that can't get out end up making a right turn, because it's just too difficult to get
Right.
across there. So they make a right turn, and
Or go out on Cooley and
Yeah.
then make the left going forward.
so, yeah, I don't think we can try and tie these two together at this point, but
There are representatives on the project here, maybe.
you guys wanna? Hi, how you doing?
Good. So yeah, I made basically this kind of map that I think some of you may have. But basically what it outlines is the traffic that would be leaving the restaurant or the office building or whatever we want to call it at a certain time during the day. And I actually underestimated it slightly, but I said basically if people are coming in at 5 p.m. at the very earliest for dinner, the lunch crowd is negligible in terms of traffic going south or north on the state trunk there. But when it comes to dinner, there's definitely a spike in attendance at any given restaurant, especially including Lolo based on their Stillwater location. So with that being said, it's basically, I put the timeline, people coming into the restaurant right at 5, say they leave their office or wherever they work, right at 4:30, get here at 5. They leave at 6:30, at the very minimum, but I actually met with the owner of the restaurant yesterday. And their average turnaround time is actually 2 hours and not an hour and a half, so that would put it at 7 o'clock at night at the very earliest. You know, a lot of people don't get to dinner until 7 o'clock and then leave at 9, but I'm basically put this at worst case scenario, coming at 5, leaving at 6:30, say, and using that as kind of the timeline. And then also the amount of cars that will be traveling at a left out. The whole reason for adding the Hudson location is to basically grab consumers or customers or whatever you want to call them for a restaurant to come kind of from the Hudson area, from the River Falls area, from anywhere on the Wisconsin side, to kind of make them sort of travel to the Hudson location. Currently, there's a lot of people going to the Stillwater location. So in this case, you know, the hope is that there's nobody from the Twin Cities that is coming to this restaurant, because if they were, they would be going to the Stillwater location. So the whole idea is to get all of the rooftops in Hudson and River Falls and the surrounding area to come to the Hudson location. All of the people from the Twin Cities and everything can come to the Stillwater location, and kind of mitigate it that way, in terms of where people are gonna be coming from. And that's where the whole left out situation comes into play. So, you know, the left out, we have a total of 25 cars for the restaurant at a 1:3 ratio, 75 seats. So at any given time, there will be 25 stalls taken up from the restaurant. So what I basically did is said, 5 of them are heading to the Twin Cities. Hopefully that number is 0. Those are the people that are taking the left out. The other 20 customers should be heading north or should be heading east towards, or up Cooley and around those sort of areas of housing, kind of up the hill there. So kind of between all those facts, and as well, Denny mentioned the speed being a factor. You know, if our speed was lowered from right now, it's at 35 and it comes into 25 after you go 45 by the wastewater treatment center. If there was a way to get that to slow down there, that would increase kind of the opportunities of taking a left out there. Also the fact that, as Denny mentioned as well, being that this is in the CBD, the building will be pushed right up to the property line, so it's not something where it's the parking lot in front and the building in back, and as a driver, you can blast by that. It's going to be more like a Main Street situation, and in any Main Street, no matter where you are, you know, the buildings are pushed up to the road, and it automatically makes you more aware and slows down in terms of speed, just because, you know, there's a building much closer to you than one kind of off in the distance. So that is also another benefit that I think is kind of a variable moving forward, but it definitely comes into play.
I gotta say, I disagree with him, and if I was a business owner, I'd be kind of mad that you're telling Twin City people not to come to my restaurant. I want everybody coming into that restaurant, so I would dismiss that argument from you, and
We have plenty of seats over at the Stillwater one. so
yeah, but we in
that's,
Hudson want those folks coming here.
Yeah, that may be, but if you have 2 locations, you definitely don't want to steal from one and you want
Well,
to gain more.
Well,
That's just, you know, any restaurant that expands into any other space, you know, you don't want to take away from the customers that you already have, because that wouldn't make any sense.
I would welcome anybody, so.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I put 5 cars heading that way. So it's definitely going to be less traffic heading left out than it is right out. That is no question. That I can 100% guarantee that.
Well, we're saying we don't want any to go left.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'd be okay with that if we could reduce the speed limit, which gives people time to react before you come into that area. I mean, as a mitigating factor to try to help this thing to work. I don't know if we can put that as a condition of this thing or not.
That's a DOT issue. They said they would take a serious look at it, but they were not guaranteeing
Okay.
that would be implemented.
And whatever their decision, it will not be a quick one.
No, we don't know. That's,
I can guarantee you that.
no, I mean,
Yep.
they want to be very cooperative in trying to help Hudson resolve this issue, so.
Well, I think
The
that
meeting
would
I
help
had-
though. I mean, if you at least slow it down, your reaction time is better in 25 miles an hour than it is at 45.
Without a
Let's
doubt,
just
yeah.
face it. And so that would help that problem area if it was going slower.
Any other questions or comments or thoughts? Mike?
So we've often started that location for the last 6 years, and as I mentioned in the last meeting, the tough thing with that site is 99% of the time, there is no issue turning left out of there. I mean, I watched the individuals from DOT who were down there the other day, 510 or 509, they took a left and went towards Minnesota. So we completely understand that a 20 to 30-minute window, but I guess what I'd be curious to hear is how are we going to enforce going left? Because most of the time it's not an issue. Kind of common sense, so our most common meeting time is 4 o'clock, so clients are leaving at 5. And we, in the last 6 years, have never had an issue with it. We just have always encouraged clients, take a right, go up Cooley, and there's an exit to 94 right up on top of the hill. So my belief is the site's really no different than coming out of San Pedro's or coming out of Freedom or coming out of Dairy Queen. Common sense says if you got 2 lanes stacked up, take a right and turn around. So I guess my concern would just be if we're going to enforce a no left only, if I'm leaving for a lunch meeting at 12 o'clock, that site's now going to be restricted going forward, just for that half-hour block of time. So I guess any thoughts on how that restriction would be enforced?
You mean turning left out of the parking lot, Mike?
Yeah, so because again, we're going to share access, so if we can't turn left out of that site just because of a 4:50 to 5:20 time period.
Well, it's no different than anybody that decides they're going to go left there and they're going to drive through and make a left turn anyway. I mean,
Okay. I mean, would it be signage? Would it be a
well,
barricade in
I
the
think
middle, or-
that somebody proposed a right-only turn out of there.
Kind of almost you have no choice but to go right.
But Mike's point to that is a good one,
Yes,
is
it is.
that 99% of the time, you're gonna sit there and be forced to make a right-hand turn, and there's no traffic in either direction.
Like I said, DOT took a left at 5:10 just a
Yeah.
couple minutes ago. So it's such a small window then that there's an issue there. And, I mean, anywhere else in Hudson, people have common sense that if you can't turn left, go right. It'd be different too if there wasn't an exit to 94 right up on the hill on Cooley. So that's been the solution that we've had for the last 6 years with clients coming in. And like I said, from an accident standpoint, I know there was one down there, but there's never been an issue down there with it. And a lot of it's just common sense of you don't turn left when the lanes are stacked up.
Now, Mike, because I don't know your traffic count, but I would think the restaurant's going to have more traffic count than yours.
Right,
I mean, it just.
But again, different times too,
Yep,
though.
absolutely.
Because all of our employees are leaving at 5 o'clock. But
Okay. Any questions?
I think one thing Denny mentioned is that the unexact study that was done the other night is in February. July is gonna be a lot different. So, we just have so many people coming into town in the summertime that, I mean, I like to think common sense will prevail and they'll turn right, but I can't guarantee that.
So we have, right now, we have a motion and a second on the floor to have a right turn only at that interchange to approve the project, I believe. Is that correct,
That's
Mr.
correct.
Doyle? Any other thoughts or discussions on it?
Excuse me, so the addition of addressing we cannot put the speed issue in there because of DOT. It's their decision in their time frame in terms of determining that. So this is our one attempt to address it, right?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, you guys ready to vote? People ready to vote? Guys and lady? Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion possible action on concept development plans, Holiday Inn Express Hospitality Center, 201 Carmichael Road, 95-room hotel and reuse of former golf course clubhouse as a banquet center, LHR Hospitality, Douglas Road.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I will recuse myself from discussions and voting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is the concept development plans. This is your first opportunity to review this. Again, this is the site where the former clubhouse, golf course clubhouse is located at. And to the south, that would be converted into a hospitality center. At least initial discussions. Mark, if you want to put your board, you have a presentation board, you just lay that one down. And then what's proposed is a 95-unit Holiday Inn Express facility just south of that. The entrance road off of Carmichael Road would be on the south side between north of Culver's Restaurant. There's a public street that's proposed just west of the site, provide exiting access to the hotel convention center. Then the existing right-in, right-out only on Carmichael Road up in the northeastern part of the site would be another access. Turn it over at this time to Angela Copenhagen's project engineer, Mark Paskey, Frisbee Architects, Ayers Associates is here tonight also. So I'll give you the floor.
Okay. What we have here is the existing site plan, so.
And
the
I'm
whole-
sorry, if you want to take the microphone
Can I
out
do that?
and then move around, you're fine.
Yes, because I was thinking, how am I gonna do?
Thank you.
Perfect.
Make it a lot easier.
Yes. Over here. Yeah, so basically what we have here is the existing site plan, which you have Carmichael Road, you have the right in, right out only to the clubhouse area, and then Culver's is right down here. And so where they're looking at placing the hotel site is right in between basically the clubhouse and Culver's. The next one, what is going to happen here is, again, with the existing clubhouse here, we're going to maintain the access, and basically a majority of the parking lot that is already there will be preserved. We are just changing the layout going along the front of the existing clubhouse, and then pretty much the layout that would be in front of the Holiday Inn site. You have, then it will continue to have parking that will wrap around the Holiday Inn and be in the back area. And as you can see in the clubhouse, there's that patio area that is going to be maintained. And you'll have parking then that extends down, or actually to the north at that point. So we're looking at all of these, kind of the site as a whole, just as far as from complementary uses. This would still remain banquet center / potentially a restaurant at some point, and then obviously you'll have the place to stay. We have 2 access points that are being proposed through Carmichael Ridge, which is the new Hanshagen development that you reviewed at the last planning commission. You'll have the primary road that will come off of Carmichael that now will have a roundabout and then continue to the west. But off of this primary road off of Carmichael, then we'll have a north-south road. So they will have an access that is about 150 feet from the intersection, but then also gives you enough room then to start your turning movement into the roundabout.
That'd be a right-in only, correct?
And it will be a right, exactly. And this is a right-in only. This will be a concrete median upon full development of that road. So they would only be able to come right in. The primary access in both directions, right, in and out, is along this new, almost kind of like a frontage road for lack of, it's behind the building, but it's going to be the north-south road, and that would be the primary access into that site. And it's located halfway in between the banquet area and the hotel area.
Is that, those two locations we talked about relocating those, is that the new locations?
Those are the new
And-
locations. And so we are locating now the entrance. Previously, it kind of came in more center of parking lot. We've now relocated it so it is through the primary frontage of the building. Obviously, we want to direct people to the front lobby. And second of all, from a fire standpoint, your
We
fire
want
trucks
the,
want to get right to the front of the
vehicles to be
building.
able to get in without getting blocked. Otherwise, they'd have to
Yeah.
make too sharp a turn too quick. This will allow more free flow, and they can actually go through to go in front of the convention center and then exit, right out on Carmichael. So it gives them a free flow of access to the site, so.
Right now, you have a trunk sanitary sewer that cuts right through pretty much the middle of this lot and then heads down the hill to basically where the large pond is. So that will be relocated actually as part of a different plan, or as part of when Carmichael Ridge comes in, we'll reroute the sanitary to go around the property, and then it goes down the hill. You have utilities, then their utilities for this site will come off this primary street in the back. Yes, so right now, I'm going to grab this map again. Right now, this lot preliminarily, well, it was split into two, so that the clubhouse had its lot and a potential commercial lot. With this, well, actually, as part of a separate application, we would be looking to reroute or redo the property line so that each parcel or each building has its own parcel, and then it also meets the setbacks that are required for the buildings. Do you want to show them now yours?
Just the
okay.
issue with the two lots is that there's so much parking for the restaurant, convention, hospitality center, and so much for the hotel. The way the parking is being done is the parking is almost flipped, where there's more parking on the hotel site, less. So there's going to have to be a parking agreement between the two parcels so that they, be something where if one property is sold, it's not, they don't lose the parking. So the total number of parking stalls is fine. It's just that, basically this is going to be pretty much a shared facility, so the parking will work out fine. But the old clubhouse site standing by itself with possibly 300-seat facility would need 150 parking stalls, and that parcel alone will not carry that. So they'll be utilizing cross parking between the two uses.
Did you put yours?
All right, and then we've included some images of the hotel as well, kind of illustrating the materials of the prototypical design from Holiday Inn Group. Cultured stone around the entry piers and the main entry of the building, and then the principal material around the remainder is a three-color fiber cement hardy panel siding, kind of a rustic red, tan color, and then the entire first floor in more of a earth tone brown. And then all the windows and then entrances are all clear anodized aluminum, and we've got pre-finished metal on the canopy and building cap flashing. This is a 5-story building above grade. We are looking at a maximum building height of 59 feet, just to stay within there.
60 feet's the maximum.
Yep.
Okay. Questions?
And Mark, as far as the interior use, I mean, it's just, are there other facilities other than just the hotel rooms that's included in the facility? Maybe Doug can answer that question. I mean, do they have meeting rooms and other?
Yeah, there's I guess a small business meeting room, a fitness room, pool area with a small pool and hot tub to accommodate the occupants. I think in general, for any larger facilities, it would be, work in conjunction with the adjacent existing clubhouse as an event center.
Is there a restaurant in the hotel?
There's no restaurant in the hotel, no.
Okay. Okay, any questions?
I'd recommend concept development plan approval. I think we still are working on any utility comments from our water utility director and city engineer, but they'd be pretty minor at this point. So.
I'll move for approval on the concept of development.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay.
Can I ask one?
Yep.
Is there any plans to join the two buildings together? Or I know there's property line issues and all that. but
Well,
is
not
that-
at this point. Actually, they could join if you're going through a conditional use permit similar to what the hospital medical clinic did. They can go through a conditional use permit and get that kind of connection if they choose. But at this point, they have not asked for that.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, discussion possible action on request from Tyrell and Jennifer Gasser to acquire park property between 236 Cooley Road and 202 Cooley Road. Mr. Darnold.
Yeah, there's a small area of the Burkmost Park property located just west of the historic Casanova Liquor and the existing residence just to the east of Dairy Queen. Tyrell and Jennifer Gaffers have requested that the city sell that area. It's approximately 50 to 60 feet wide by about 75 feet deep. The Burkmost Park was dedicated to the city of Hudson in perpetuity for recreational use, and the acceptance of the property by the city stipulates that it has to remain that. There is a provision in state law that the city can go through to ask for a court order to dispose of parts of property that have been issued or dedicated for a specific purpose. Maybe Pat wants to comment, but the park board did look at this issue. It's a small area. It's not something that's used for park purposes.
Not at all. We didn't feel that there was any value to the parks.
I've talked to Tom Zuli, the park recreation director. I think he and I agree. I guess, there is a requirement by Hudson code that any potential disposal of park property has to go through a public hearing. We've set that hearing date for February 22nd. So one of the requirements of state law is that these type of issues also are required to come before the planning commission for review. So that's the reason it's here tonight. And my apology, I added it on the agenda yesterday simply because I forgot to do it. And it's, so where you want to make a decision tonight or not, that's purely up to you. But park board's looked at it, city staff's looked at it. From the city perspective, it's really not valuable. It may have more sentimental value from the owners that originally. It's my understanding, a history of Burkmost obtaining property was part of this Berkmo's Park property actually was owned by Casanova at one time. The Berkmo's has bought that. They also bought land from other parties up near the current entrance. And then that was dedicated to the city of Hudson. That was back 90 years ago when that property was dedicated to the city of Hudson. You know, if this is valuable park property to the city, the answer would be absolutely no to this question. There'd be no question in my mind. I think the thing that in discussions, if the city does eventually choose to consider disposing of it, and the council's decision may be absolutely not. You know, it was given to us in perpetuity, we weren't gonna dispose of it. But if they would choose to possibly dispose of it, then they may have to go through this procedure, get a court order to be able to do it. That can be an expensive issue for the city, so if that's the case, most likely the city would require the people interested in acquiring the property to pay some of those, all or some of those expenses. I think something else that the city would want to take a look at is, right now, the proposal is to utilize the property, the park property, plus where the existing house is for a continuation of the parking lot. That we have some say in the design and of how that parking lot's done, where, you know, some additional amenities could be done to help dress it up, those types of things. But really, keeping the property other for park purposes, I certainly question why that's necessary.
I think,
After maintaining it all these years, can they claim adverse possession on it? And
No.
they can't.
My understanding answer is no.
I don't think that property, looking at it from the city's perspective, has ever been used. It's not a park, it's a vacant parcel that needs to be maintained.
It's probably a leftover street access from where somebody laid a grid on that whole area in terms of lots and blocks, and where the grid for a street came through, that's where it is, because there's no access from it to the main part of the park there at all.
You know, Liz Molina, our administrative assistant's done a lot of research on this. It's my understanding that Cooley Road alignment was changed at one point, and this minor remnant parcel or parcel that extends from the main part of Berkmo's Park out to the current alignment of Cooley Road may have been a result of that realignment of Cooley Road. That's the best we can determine or think of the reason why this exists. We may be incorrect, but it seems logical that maybe that is the reason why.
I think it makes sense, but I don't think it makes sense for the city to pay to have that turned over. So if, in my opinion, if the folks want that property, they should pay for all the legal things to get them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think that was also part of the park board's recommendation also.
Well, what I was trying to finish in my statement was I think it would put that land to good use, solve some issues that we have along Cooley Road for parking. The city's obviously not gonna use it. It's been a maintenance problem, if you wanna call it that, because we've had private people doing it or whatever, and with no intended use for 90 years, as you're saying, maybe it's a blessing.
I'll move it.
Okay,
We'll do the motion.
And I'll second it.
sounds good. Any other discussion or comments?
I'm
And that was one of the provisions that any costs as far as legal,
Yes.
legal,
100%.
That's our recommendation I would put in for
Yes.
the city council.
I just wanted, that was my add, clarifying.
Is that okay with you, Patrick?
Yeah.
Is this for the sale of it or the granting of it?
Granted.
well, when we talked about setting up the public hearing, the common council set the public hearing for Monday, February 22nd. The second provision was that Tom Zooey, Park and Rec Director, and myself will negotiate with the gaffers in regards to what the cost of disposition may be. At the council meeting, I mentioned that, you know, if the site is cleaned up and maintained, maybe there's some things that we can get in addition to parking lot improvements, maybe some landscaping, those types of things to make it look nice. Maybe that becomes part of the overall cost of it, but, you know, maybe it's not all cash. Maybe there's other things that can be done to enhance sidewalks along Cooley Road up to the historic Casanova site. There's a number of things that we might, if the common council would choose to move ahead of disposition of the property, those types of things that would be incorporated into the negotiations.
Okay. Any other questions?
And if it would be, and the parking lot project would move ahead, then that's gotta, most likely will come back to us for review, so.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Other business for informational purposes or upcoming agenda items. Mr. Darnold?
Just the dates of upcoming meetings was mentioned in my comments. The second meeting in February is February 25th. March was March 10th, then we'll be moving the second meeting back to the 31st. The reason we're doing that, that's kind of going to serve as the second meeting for March and the first meeting for April, because the way the council meetings are set up with the election in April, our only meeting in April is going to be April 21st. So I'm trying to get these spread out. It gives a little more time for time to come here to get to the council. So right now, our next 4 meetings are scheduled for February 25th, March 10th, March 31st, and April 21st. 25th.
I'll run it through them again.
Pardon? 25.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.